Lord, when was it that we saw you hungry and gave you food, or thirsty and gave you something to drink? And when was it that we saw you a stranger and welcomed you, or naked and gave you clothing? And when was it that we saw you sick or in prison and visited you? And the king will answer them, truly I tell you, just as you did it to one of the least of these, who are members of my family, you did it to me. So he was out there all the time. Is it possible that we have been looking for God in all the wrong places? Looking not only in our liturgy or in our building or even as we celebrate on Christ the King Sunday, even looking for God up there, up in heaven on a throne. But had we not been looking out there with the hungry and the thirsty or the imprisoned? This insight is helpful for me because I have been part of a small group of folks at St. George's who have been learning. We have been in a field education program, I guess I would call it, where we've been learning by doing. And what we've been learning to do is to look out to our neighborhood and discern what God is doing out there. And I'm part of the learners. I've been all along, and this is based on a book. The concept is see what God is up to in your neighborhood. And I've been wondering, what exactly are we looking at? Are we looking to see people out in the neighborhood, out in the area, doing good works, or are we supposed to be looking to see people that are suffering? And are we supposed to be looking to see strangers like immigrants or refugees that are not being welcomed? Or are we supposed to be looking for signs of hope? And the answer, of course, is that it's in all of the above. And we, in our small group, we are seeing all of those aspects of God. And this is important because learning to do this work changes what we have always understood to be mission. Mission is based on the same word as missile and missive. It means being sent. And we're trying to develop new ways to understand just what that means. The old way of looking at mission was the idea that we were sent by God to go out and help other people, maybe people a long way from us in other countries. I see that model as a little bit like being God's Saint Bernard, with a little keg around our neck going out in the snow, but instead of cognac in the keg, we have God. We say, here I am, here, want some God? I got it, I'm bringing it. But the new way of looking at mission is that we are looking to find God out there. In other words, we're being sent, let me call it, if I'm not being disrespectful, let me call it a scavenger hunt. We are being sent to find God out there. So if we go back to the canine model, it would be, instead of the St. Bernard, it would be little Poppy the puppy, who is eager to run to every dog or person that she can find because she wants to get to know them and love them. Now, this this understanding of mission is especially important to us today, and for two reasons. First of all, in the year that begins on November 29th, our church year begins on the first Sunday in Advent. During this coming year, you folks at St. George's Church are going to be asked and led to turn your gaze outward. And I'm not just talking about this conceptually, like, oh, yes, there are so many troubled people out there. Yes. I'm not talking about this conceptually. I'm talking about this in the sense of incarnate. We are going to be looking outward to see the face of Christ in actual, real people, because that's what incarnation is all about. The other reason that this message of mission is important has to do with the year that began already. It certainly began on November 3rd, but it may have actually begun a long time before that. But in this year that has already begun, God has begun to appear in the faces of many people that we've never looked at before. People who are hungry for justice, people who are thirsty for answers, who are sick from the frustration of being overlooked, people who are imprisoned by fear of the institutions that they no longer trust, people who are naked like we are, which is to say that we are vulnerable to a world that seems to be spinning out of control. And we are all strangers. We are all strangers. These people, these strangers, are the ones who voted for the other party in the last election. And my question, my prayer assignment for you for the coming week is, if we don't learn how to seek God out there, outside of our bubble, how are we going to visit them and welcome them? Amen.